The divorce papers were still on the kitchen floor where Nia had dropped them. She hadn't moved them. She'd stepped around them twice to get Amara a juice box and once to answer the door. And now she was sitting against the cabinet under the sink with her back to the dishwasher and her knees pulled up. And the papers were just there, 3 feet away, face up. Amara was in the living room, Paw Patrol. Volume low because Nia had asked her to keep it low, and Amara, 6 years old and apparently already fluent in her mother's register, had turned it down without being asked twice. The knock came at 11:14. Nia knew because she'd been watching the clock on the microwave, the way you watch something you don't actually want to know. Tanya had a bag, not an overnight bag, a real bag, the kind with a shoulder strap and a main compartment and a side pocket that already had her phone charger in it. She'd packed before she called. Nia clocked this and said nothing. "Don't," Tanya said, coming in, meaning don't tell me you're fine. She put the bag down in the hallway. She saw the papers on the floor and left them there too, which Nia appreciated in a way she couldn't name yet. She went straight to the kitchen, pulled open the cabinet above the stove. Found the chamomile Nia kept up there and had never once chosen voluntarily, filled the kettle. "I don't want tea," Nia said. "I know." Tanya set out 2 mugs anyway, one of them a navy blue ceramic one she'd pulled from the bag, not from Nia's cabinet, her own mug. Brought from home. Nia watched her move around the kitchen with the specific competence of someone who had already decided what the next 72 hours looked like. From the living room, the Paw Patrol theme played low, and Tinny and Amara laughed at something, just once, and Nia felt that laugh move through her chest like a hand pressing down. "He filed in Prince George's," Nia said, "not Montgomery." Tanya turned from the stove. "I know." Nia looked at her. "I told you this morning." "Yeah." The kettle started. Tanya poured without asking, pushed the navy mug across the counter toward Nia and took her phone out. "Call him tonight. Don't text him. Don't let him know what you know or what you don't." She said it the way you say turn left on Maple, directional, ordinary. "You sound like you've done this before," Nia said. Tanya didn't look up from her phone. "I just know Derek." The chamomile sat steaming on the counter. Nia wrapped both hands around the mug because the kitchen was cold and because she didn't know what else to do with them. Down the hall, Tanya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, cleared the notification, and called out toward the living room. "Amara, baby, you hungry?" Amara said yes. Tanya started opening cabinets. Tanya made eggs in the morning. Scrambled with sharp cheddar, the way their grandmother used to make them in her kitchen in Seat Pleasant, the one with the yellow curtains and the radio always on. Nia hadn't eaten scrambled eggs since she left that house at 17. She didn't say that. She just ate them standing at the counter, because sitting felt like more of a decision than she had in her right now. Amara cleaned her plate without negotiating. That alone was worth something. The custody proposal arrived at 9:17 while Nia was still deciding whether to go in to work. Primary residence with Derek. Visitation schedule attached as Exhibit A, like Amara was a line on a balance sheet. Nia read it standing in the hallway in her coat, and then sat down on the stairs still in her coat, and read it again. Tanya took it from her without asking. Put her reading glasses on. Nia hadn't known she needed reading glasses, this small private fact about her cousin she'd somehow never learned, and went through it page by page at the kitchen table. "Gerald Holt's attorney drafted this," she said. "You can tell from the asset language. That family doesn't lose custody disputes, Nia. That's the business they're in." She set it down. "You need Marcus before you respond to a single word." Marcus Briggs, Tanya's contact, Tanya's scheduling. Tanya had already briefed him before she'd mentioned his name to Nia. Nia had noticed this the way you notice a loose thread, aware of it, not yet pulling. She went to work, kept her office door closed most of the day. At lunch, Renee knocked anyway and came in and sat down and said what she'd clearly been holding since morning. "She answered your phone when I called yesterday." Nia looked up. "Said you were resting. I know you, Nia. You don't rest at noon on a Tuesday." "She's staying with me. She was probably just nearby and picked up." "Maybe." Renee looked at her hands. "How well do you know her, though?" like now as a grown woman. She's family. I know that. I'm asking something different. She stood up. Just keep your eyes open, that's all. She left. Nia sat with it for 20 minutes and then put it in the category of things Renee meant well about and filed it away. Derek called at 6:48. Nia was upstairs changing when she heard Tanya's voice from the kitchen below, low and measured, the specific register of someone managing a temperature rather than having a conversation. By the time Nia got to the landing, the call was already done. "He called your cell," Tanya said. "I was right next to it. He was already going, so I didn't want you walking into that." "What did he say?" Tanya set a glass of water on the counter. "That you're making this harder than it has to be. That if you just talk to him directly without attorneys, you could work something out." She shook her head. "He knows you can't do that right now. He's just trying to get in your head." Nia sat with that. The phrasing, "making this harder than it has to be," that was Derek's sentence. She'd heard it in their marriage. Tanya had it exactly right. The cadence of it, the particular way he flattened blame into something that sounded like reason. After dinner, Tanya sat with Amara at the coffee table and helped her with a worksheet, second-grade reading, matching words to pictures. Nia watched from the doorway. Tanya did the voice for each wrong answer, a little game show buzzer sound that made Amara collapse sideways, laughing every time. Nia had not heard Amara laugh like that in 11 days. She'd been counting. She did the dishes. Tanya put Amara to bed and came back downstairs, and they sat together watching nothing in particular on television. Tanya's feet tucked under her on the couch the way she'd always sat since they were girls, and for an hour the apartment felt almost like it was just two people in it instead of a situation. Before bed, Nia checked her call log the way she checked everything, out of habit, the same reflex she had with her work files. The 6:48 call was there, 4 minutes 12 seconds. She set her phone on the charger, stood at the window. 4 minutes was longer than someone who picked up by accident and got hostility. But Tanya had a reason, and the reason fit, and Derek had sounded exactly like Derek, and Renee sometimes saw problems in rooms where the furniture was just furniture. She was still building that case when she fell asleep. What she didn't do was stop building it. The laundry arrangement happened naturally, the way most things in a shared house do. Tanya's room was on the second floor. The machines were stacked in the basement utility closet off the kitchen, and somewhere in the second week, they'd stopped asking and started just running each other's loads. It was practical. It was the kind of small domestic fact that doesn't mean anything. Nia was transferring Tanya's wet clothes to the dryer on a Saturday afternoon. Amara at a birthday party in Tacoma Park. House quiet, nothing on her mind in particular, when the phone dropped out from between two folded towels and landed face up. On the concrete floor, she almost put it back. She stood there with wet laundry in her hands and looked at it for a full breath. Prepaid, plastic casing, small screen. The kind you buy at a gas station and pay cash for, and felt something move through her that wasn't quite instinct and wasn't quite dread, but lived in the neighborhood of both. She picked it up. No lock code, one app open, messages. The text went back 14 months. They weren't what she expected. No long explanations, no declarations. Just logistics, the way people write when they've been coordinating long enough that full sentences feel wasteful. Evaluator confirmed for the 14th. Good, she's still thinking settlement. Yeah, keep it that way. A gap of 3 weeks, then. Annapolis situation, neighbor sign off yet. Signed, docs ready when you need it. Timeline's tight, need her stable through filing. She's stable, I'm here every day. Nia scrolled, her thumb moving slowly, the wet laundry dripping onto the floor beside her boot. More gaps, more logistics. References to the evaluation, to the Charlotte assessment, to something called the Holt timeline she couldn't fully map but understood the shape of. Then, 4 months ago. Attorney needs one more thing, something recent. Incident, outburst, anything documented. Working on it, give me 2 weeks. We don't have 2 weeks. Then give me one. Nia set the phone down on top of the dryer. She stood there, the machine hummed under her hand. Outside, somewhere up the street, a neighbor's dog was barking at something that had already gone. She picked the phone back up, went to the beginning. Read it again from the first message. Slower this time. The way she read financial documents when the numbers were telling her something she needed to be certain of before she said it out loud. She noted the dates. She noted the gaps. She noted the way Tanya never used names, not Derek's, not hers, the practiced habit of someone who understood what a text thread could become. She finished loading the dryer, started it, placed the phone back between the towels at the same angle she'd found it, corner touching the fabric the same way, and went upstairs. Tanya was on the couch, laptop open, headphones around her neck, a cup of tea going cold on the side table. She looked up. "Dryer's running," Nia said. "Thank you, babe." Nia went to the kitchen, filled a glass of water, stood at the sink drinking it, looking out at the backyard, at Amara's pink bicycle leaning against the fence with the streamers on the handlebars that Amara had chosen herself, and Derek had said were too babyish and Nia had let her get anyway. She went back to the living room and sat in the armchair across from Tanya. "Random question," she said, before all this. "Did Derek ever reach out to you on his own?" Tanya looked up from the laptop. Something moved behind her eyes, small, fast, the duration of a blink, and then her face settled into something warm and slightly confused. "Derek, no. You know we were never like that. Why?" Something in the filing, language that felt like it came from someone who knew our life. Nia shrugged. "Probably nothing." "His attorney's good," Tanya said. "That's what you're paying for when you hire Gerald Holt. They make it feel personal." She closed the laptop halfway. "Let it get in your head." "You're right," Nia said. "You're probably right." She called Renee at 2 a.m. with the bedroom door shut and the television running low for noise. Laid out what she'd read in the specific flat register she used at work when the numbers had already decided something, and she was just catching up to them. Renee was quiet long enough that Nia checked the call was still connected. "How are you holding it together right now?" "I'm not holding it together," Nia said. "I'm photographing it." She had 61 images by 3:40 a.m. She checked each one for legibility, retook 4, organized them by date thread. She came downstairs for water and found Tanya already there in the dark kitchen, glass in hand, the refrigerator light the only thing on. They looked at each other the way people do when neither expected the other. "Couldn't sleep," Tanya said. "Me either." Nia ran the tap, sat down at the table. The navy mug was there from earlier, cold now, the chamomile long past anything useful. Tanya leaned against the counter, looked at her with the expression Nia had been watching for 6 weeks, that particular arrangement of concern and warmth that had felt like bedrock until 4 hours ago. "You okay?" Nia looked back at her, held it a beat, let her face do something tired and soft and entirely constructed. "I don't know," she said. "I think I just need this to be over." Tanya crossed the kitchen and put her hand on Nia's shoulder, squeezed once. "It will be," she said. "I promise you it will be." Nia put her hand over Tanya's, kept it there a moment. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Tanya went back upstairs. Nia sat alone until the kitchen windows went from black to gray to the particular blue that means morning is coming whether you're ready or not. She didn't touch the navy mug. She woke Sunday morning and lay still for 11 minutes. She could hear Tanya downstairs, the specific sound of her moving through the kitchen, cabinet opening, kettle filling. The routine of someone completely at home, and she stared at the ceiling and let herself feel the full weight of what that sound now meant. Not a cousin, not a rock. A woman who had been in this house every day, holding Amara, making eggs, pushing chamomile across the counter, and sending updates to Derek's attorney before the sheets went cold. A woman who had sat with her while she cried and filed the tears away as evidence of instability. She felt it. She gave it exactly those 11 minutes. Then she got up, washed her face, went downstairs. Renee brought the camera over on Monday disguised as a housewarming gift, a white Amazon Echo box with a Ring camera inside it. She set it on the living room bookshelf between a framed photo of Amara and a succulent that needed water, aimed at the couch, and left within 20 minutes. Tanya never looked at it. That same evening, Nia cried at dinner. Not performance crying, the real kind that starts somewhere behind your sternum and arrives without permission. She let it come because it was true and because it was useful. Tanya moved her chair around the table and held her, and Nia let herself be held, and over Tanya's shoulder she watched the small LED ring on the bookshelf doing nothing, just sitting there. "I can't lose her," Nia said, meaning Amara. "You won't," Tanya said, meaning something else entirely. Over the next 4 days, Nia asked questions the way she did at work, sideways, buried in other sentences. What did Tanya think Derek actually wanted? Did she think the Holts would push this to trial? Was the Charlotte evaluation something she'd heard about, any rumors in the family? Tanya answered all of it with the ease of someone who had rehearsed without knowing they were rehearsing. On the 3rd day, Nia left her laptop open on the kitchen table with a bank statement visible. Her own account, modest, exactly what someone drowning would have. She went upstairs for 40 minutes. When she came back down, the laptop had been moved 3 inches. She didn't say anything. Thursday night, she called her attorney from the home office with the door closed. Laid out the financial trail she'd been mapping for 10 days. The wire transfer from the Holt Family Trust to an LLC registered in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. Tanya's LLC incorporated 8 months before Derek filed. Her attorney was quiet for a long moment and then said they needed to talk about timing. Friday afternoon, Nia sat across from Tanya at the kitchen table and looked like a woman who had decided to stop fighting. "I've been thinking," she said, "maybe I push for less. Joint custody, reasonable schedule, just make it stop." Tanya's shoulders dropped a 1/4 inch. "That might be the smartest thing you've said." Nia reached across and pushed the navy mug toward her, chamomile already made, the ritual reversed. "Tell me honestly," she said. "How bad would it get if I went to trial?" Tanya wrapped both hands around the mug, and she talked. She talked for 11 minutes. About the evaluation, about the Annapolis documentation, about how the judge assigned to the case had a pattern with high-asset custody disputes. She used Derek's attorney's first name. She said "we" twice without catching it. Nia's face stayed exactly where she'd put it. When Tanya finished, Nia nodded slowly like she was considering it. "Okay," she said. "Okay, that's helpful." She cleared the mugs, washed them both at the sink with her back turned. At 11:47 p.m., she emailed her attorney 4 words and an attachment. "We're ready, file Monday." The hearing lasted 40 minutes. Nia sat beside her attorney and watched the judge watch the recording twice without expression. Derek's attorney objected once. The judge didn't look up. The financial exhibit, the wire transfer, the LLC, the 14 months of texts, went in without argument because there was no argument that fit. Full custody, primary residence, retroactive support, sanctions for bad faith litigation. Derek didn't look at her when it was read. He looked at the table in front of him, at his hands, at some point between the two. His attorney was already packing his bag before the gavel. Nia drove home alone, coat on, heat up, radio off. The Silver Spring streets were doing what they do in November, gray and indifferent, leaf wet, everybody moving with their shoulders up. She stopped at a red light on Colesville and sat there after it turned green until the car behind her tapped its horn. She pulled into her driveway at 1:40 p.m. Through the front window, she could see the kitchen light on. She could smell something, garlic, something warm, before she even opened the door. Tanya was at the stove. Tanya's bag was still in the hallway. Tanya's robe was on the hook by the door. The kitchen looked the way it had looked for 6 weeks, comfortable, occupied, arranged around someone else's sense of what Nia needed. Nia stood in the doorway. Tanya turned around with a wooden spoon, and whatever she saw in Nia's face made her set it down on the counter. "How'd the meeting go?" Her voice was careful, the wrong kind of careful. Nia walked to the counter. She didn't answer. She looked at the navy mug sitting by the coffee maker where it always sat, right where Tanya had placed it the first day she arrived. the first deliberate thing in a long sequence of deliberate things. She picked it up, looked at it, set it in the trash can under the sink, not thrown, just placed. The lid fell shut. Nia, you can leave your key on the counter. She opened the cabinet above the stove and took down the coffee grounds, the real ones. The ones she'd stopped making when Tanya moved in, and started making again 3 weeks ago in the dark when the house was quiet. Just let me explain. I already called your mama. Nia filled the reservoir without turning around. She's expecting you tonight. The room went quiet in a way that had weight to it. She heard Tanya pick up her keys, heard her pause in the doorway, heard the specific silence of someone deciding whether there's anything left to say and finding there isn't. The front door closed. Nia stood at the counter and waited for the coffee to finish. Outside, a car door shut, an engine turned, tires on wet leaves going away down the street. Renee arrived at 3:15 with Amara from pickup. Amara came through the door still wearing her backpack, saw her mother at the kitchen table with a coffee cup, and climbed directly into her lap without asking, the way children do when something in the air has changed and they don't have words for it, but their bodies understand. Nia held her. The kitchen was quiet, the coffee was real, the mug was gone.